How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, April 7th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Wednesday, April 6th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today, to the first Thursday of April 2022. Taking a quick step back and looking at where we are. With March Madness being over as of last weekend, we are in the final days of the NBA regular season. Some teams have about 2-3 games left in their schedules, as most playoff seeds have already been set. And taking a look at what's going on with soccer overseas, we are seeing that those seasons are coming to an end as well in about a month or so. But we just got finished with the first leg of Champions League matches for the quarterfinal round. And of course, once we are where we are next week, we will be through the quarterfinal and into the semifinal round. And also, today is Thursday, April 7th. Today is opening day for the 2022 MLB season, as of course, we'll preview everything that's going on with the MLB as we get into navigating through this brand new MLB season one day at a time. With that said, I'm going to start with what happened in the NBA yesterday in Detroit. The Pistons would host the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks would beat the Pistons 131-113. They won by 8 after outscoring the Pistons by 9 in the second quarter and then by 11 in the second half to pick up their 50th win of the year. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Detroit Pistons were led in scoring by their starting point guard, last year's number 1 overall pick out of Oklahoma State, Cade Cunningham. He finished with 25 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. He shot 7 for 19 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 10 for 11 from the free throw line. The Pistons starting center, Isaiah Stewart, finished with 19 points and 14 rebounds in 28 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field. He made all 3 of his threes, and he would make all 4 of his free throws from the free throw line as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting Slovenian shooting guard, Luka Doncic. The first-time All-NBA guard would finish with 26 points, 8 rebounds, 14 assists, and 6 turnovers in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 21 from the field, 2 for 11 from 3, and 8 for 13 from the free throw line. The Mavericks starting point guard out of Villanova, Jalen Brunson, finished with 24 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he made 5 of his 6 free throws. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are 50-30. That is currently the 4th best record in the Western Conference. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture with 2 games left in their schedule, they sit half a game behind the 3rd place Golden State Warriors, as they could overtake the Warriors for that 3rd spot. They sit a couple games ahead of the 5th place Utah Jazz, as they trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 13 games at the moment. Right now, it looks as though they're going to hold on to that 4th seed, but their playoff seed isn't set yet. With this loss, the Detroit Pistons are now 23-57. That is the 2nd worst record in the Eastern Conference and the 3rd worst record in the NBA. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting, at this moment, they are sitting 17.5 games behind the 10th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference play-in picture. With 2 games left in their schedule, they are one of 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that have been eliminated from playoff contention. They sit alongside the Orlando Magic, the Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, and the Washington Wizards, as they have a couple more games left in their season. Taking a look at what happened in Madison Square Garden, the New York Knicks hosted the Brooklyn Nets, and in this New York showdown, the Nets would beat the Knicks 110-98. The Nets won this game by 12 after outscoring the Knicks by 7 in the 3rd quarter and then by 22 in the 4th quarter to overcome their 10-point deficit going in. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Alec Burks. He finished with 24 points in 38 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he would shoot 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett, finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists in 45 minutes. He shot 7 for 27 from the field. And of course, their starting power forward, Jericho Sims, would finish with 10 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 5 fouls in 35 minutes as he shot 4 for 6 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets were led in scoring by their goated starting point guard, Kevin Durant. The former NBA scoring champ would go on to finish with 32 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, and 2 blocks in 42 minutes. He shot 11 for 22 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the free throw line. The Nets' elite starting point guard out of Duke, Kyrie Irving, would finish with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals in 43 minutes. He shot 9 for 26 from the field. He would shoot 3 for 12 from 3, and he would make all 3 of his free throws. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are 42-38. That is the 8th best record in the East, as they are tied with the Atlanta Hawks. The Nets have won their last 2 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. With 2 games left in their season, within the play-in picture, sitting alongside the Hawks, they are sitting a game behind the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. They are also sitting a game and a half ahead of the 10th place Hornets, as that play-in picture is really as they could really move up or down at this moment mathematically. With this loss, the New York Knicks are 35-45. That they are tied with the Wizards for the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they've now lost their last 5 games. They are currently sitting 5.5 games behind the 10th place Charlotte Hornets, as they have 2 games left in their schedule. And because of that, they are one of 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that have been eliminated from playoff contention, as the Knicks sit beside the Washington Wizards, who of course share their record. They sit ahead of the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons, and the Orlando Magic as well. Taking a look at what happened in Atlanta, the Hawks would host the Washington Wizards. The Hawks would beat the Wizards 118-103. Just like the Nets, the Hawks would, of course, clinch a winning record last night. They beat the Wizards by 15. They won it 118-103 after outscoring the Wizards by 9 in the first quarter and then by 10 in the third. On the losing end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards were led in scoring by their starting center, Kristaps Porzingis. He finished with 26 points, 18 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and he would shoot 6 for 7 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. He finished with 30 points, 2 rebounds, and 11 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Their starting power forward, Danilo Gallinari, finished with 26 points and 10 rebounds in 39 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 42-38. That they are tied with the Brooklyn Nets for the 8th best record in the East. The Hawks have won 7 of their last 10 games. With 2 games left in their schedule within the play-in picture alongside the Brooklyn Nets, the Hawks sit a game behind the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. They sit a game and a half ahead of the 10th place Charlotte Hornets, as they are currently trailing the conference leading Miami Heat by 10 games in the schedule. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are now holding a 35-45 record, sitting alongside the New York Knicks with the 4th worst record. The Wizards with the 4th worst record in the East. The Wizards have now lost 5 of their last 10 games. They sit 5.5 games behind the 10th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the play-in picture in the East. And with 2 games left in their schedule, considering they sat 5.5 games out, they are one of 5 teams in the East that have failed to qualify for the playoffs. They sit alongside the New York Knicks, the Indiana Pacers, the Detroit Pistons, and the Orlando Magic. Taking a look at what happened in Chicago now, the Chicago Bulls would host the Boston Celtics. The Celtics beat the Bulls 117-94. They would win this matchup by 23. They outscored the Bulls by 13 in the first quarter. They were up by 16 at the half. They would then, of course, go on to outscore the Bulls by an additional 8 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Bulls were led in scoring by their all-star starting small forward out of USC, DeMar DeRozan. He finished with 16 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field. He made his only three-pointer, and he shot 3 for 4 from the free throw line. The Bulls' all-star starting shooting guard out of UCLA, Zach LaVine, would finish with 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 2 for 9 from the field, and he would make all 3 of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard and former All-Star Jaylen Brown out of Cal. He finished with 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. The Celtics' elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum, would finish with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He shot 5 for 18 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. The Celtics starting center out of Florida, former national champ Al Horford, would finish with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He would shoot a perfect 7 for 7 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the three-point line. With this win, the Boston Celtics are now 50-30. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference at this moment. That is also, they're tied with the Mavericks for the 6th best record in the NBA. They've won their last 3 games and they've won 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they've already clinched a playoff spot as they sit 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. That top spot, I think, is mathematically grabbable for them. They sit half a game ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champs, and the Philadelphia 76ers. They both are tied for the 3rd best record, to give a sense of where the Celtics are sitting. With this loss, the Chicago Bulls are 45-35. That is the 6th best record in the East. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. Despite that, they have clinched that 6th playoff spot in the East, meaning that they won't be in the play-in game because they have the tiebreaker over the Cavaliers. In the playoff picture, they sit a game and a half behind the 5th place Toronto Raptors. They sit 2 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers as the Bulls have 2 games left in their schedule. Overall, they are trailing the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 7 games. Taking a look at what happened in Salt Lake City, the Utah Jazz hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Jazz would beat the Thunder 137-101. They would win this game by 36 after they outscored the Thunder by 10 in the first quarter, 8 in the third, and then by 15 in the fourth. So, of course, they would go on to outscore the Thunder in every single quarter this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring by their starting forward, Jalen Horde. He would go on to finish with 23 points and 5 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and he would shoot 2 for 3 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic. He finished with 27 points and 5 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he made 11 of his 12 free throws on the night. Their elite starting center out of France, Rudy Gobert, finished with 20 points and 10 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 26 minutes. He made all 9 of his field goals as he shot 2 for 4 from the free throw line. The Jazz point guard off the bench, former NBA Sixth Man of the Year, Jordan Clarkson, finished with 18 points and 10 assists in 29 minutes as he shot 7 for 11 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. Also for Utah, their center off the bench, Hassan Whiteside, finished with 15 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 blocks in 17 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field and 5 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Utah Jazz are now 48-32. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference as they've won their last 2 games and they've won 4 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2 games behind the 4th place Dallas Mavericks. They sit a game ahead of the 6th place Denver Nuggets as the Jazz have 2 games left in their schedule. Having already clinched a playoff spot in the West and being the 5th team in the West to do so, they are sitting 15 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns at the moment. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 24-56. That is currently the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference and the 4th worst record in the NBA. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 10.5 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs outside of the Western Conference play-in picture as they trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 39 whole games. Taking a look, last but not least, to what happened in the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Clippers would host the NBA leading Phoenix Suns. The Clippers would beat the Suns 113-109. They won this game by 4 after they outscored the Clippers 34-9 by 25 points in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns, who hold the best record in the NBA, if I haven't mentioned that 20 times before, were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, Ish Wainwright. He finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals in 25 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. Additionally, for Phoenix, their center off the bench, Bismack Biyombo, finished with 14 points and 12 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their small forward off the bench, Norman Powell. He finished with 24 points in 23 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. He would make 9 of his 10 free throw attempts on the night. Their starting center, Ivica Zubac, finished with 13 points and 11 rebounds in 25 minutes. He shot 5 for 6 from the field. He made 3 of his 4 free throws. Their leading scorer amongst their starters was their lead starting shooting guard, Paul George. He finished with 19 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals, alongside 2 blocks in 28 minutes. Paul George shot 4 for 11 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3. He shot 9 for 11 from the free throw line. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are now 40-40. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference, as they've won their last 3 games. They've won 4 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 5 games behind the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. They are sitting 4.5 games ahead of the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans. And with 2 games left in their schedule, the Clippers have already cemented themselves in that 8th seed going into the play-in round. With this loss, the Phoenix Suns are now 63-17. That is still the best record in the NBA, as they're the only team that has crossed the 60-win threshold, as no other team is going to cross it this year. The Suns have lost 3 of their last 10 games, and in the playoff picture, they are sitting 7.5 games ahead of the second-place Memphis Grizzlies. They are currently sitting 28.5 games ahead of the 10th place San Antonio Spurs. They are sitting 43 games ahead of the Houston Rockets, who are sitting at the very bottom of this conference. So that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, because of course today is Thursday. The only playoff spot that for sure is up for grabs is that 6th spot in the West. And of course that West spot, of course, can be grabbed by the Denver Nuggets today. The Denver Nuggets will be facing off against the Memphis Grizzlies, the second best team in the West, in Ball Arena today at 9. That game will not be on prime time, but once this game comes to an end, it's very likely that the Nuggets will be the 6th playoff seed in the West. But taking a look at what's going on in primetime today at 7:30 in Pfizer V Forum, the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks, who are holding the 3rd best record in the East, tied with the Philadelphia 76ers, are going to host the Boston Celtics, who at this moment are holding the 2nd best record in the East. Looking at these teams, the defending champs enter this matchup having won 6 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the 2nd place Boston Celtics. The Celtics have won their last 3, as they've won 8 of their last 10. With 2 games left in their schedule, they sit 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. On TNT in Chase Center, the Golden State Warriors, who hold the 3rd best record in the West, are going to host the Los Angeles Lakers, who are the first team outside of the Western Conference play-in picture. Looking at how both these teams are faring, the Warriors, having won their last 2 games and 3 of their last 10, are only sitting half a game ahead of the 4th place Dallas Mavericks with 3 games left in their schedule. So I think this is a game that they're most definitely trying to win. The Lakers enter this matchup with a 7-game losing streak. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They have the 2nd longest active losing streak in the Western Conference and the 3rd longest active losing streak in the NBA. And of course, because they sit 3 games outside of the playoff picture with 3 games left in their schedule, and the Spurs own the tiebreaker, the Lakers have failed to qualify for playoff contention. They are the 5th team to do so, as the 10 teams that have at least made it through the play-in round in the West have been set. But that is what the NBA is looking like today. Taking a look at what the MLB is looking like before we take a look at what's going on outside of the States. Today is opening day in the MLB. Taking a look at the games one by one at 2:20 in Wrigley Field in Chicago. The Kyle Hendricks and the Chicago Cubs are going to host Corbin Burnes in the Milwaukee Brewers. Burnes was an all-star last year. At 4:10 in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, Zach Greinke, the former Kansas City Royals, is back with Kansas City, making the start for them as they host the Cleveland Guardians. The Cleveland Guardians going by that name for the first time, as they are now led by their elite starting pitcher Shane Bieber. At 4:15 in Busch Stadium, the St. Louis Cardinals, led by Adam Wainwright, are going to host JT Brubaker and the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 7:05 in Nationals Park, Patrick Corbin and the Washington Nationals are going to host Tyler McGill and the New York Mets. At 8 o'clock on ESPN2, Max Fried and the defending champs Atlanta Braves are going to host Tyler Mahle and the Cincinnati Reds. At 9:38, Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Angels are going to host Framber Valdez. Ohtani coming off being the American League MVP last season, and of course now being an elite designated hitter and pitcher this year. At 9:40 on Chase Field, Madison Bumgarner and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Yu Darvish, the elite starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres. So those are going to be the games that are slated today. And once we get through that, we are going to ease our way through this MLB season one day at a time. Taking a look now at what's going on in Champions League. Yesterday was the second day of the first leg of the quarterfinal round, as there were not really big league games outside of that. Taking a look at the first game between Chelsea and Real Madrid, of course, taking a look at how these two teams would get here. Chelsea would end up making it to the quarterfinal leg after they beat Los Lille 4-1 on aggregates. And then, of course, Real Madrid would make it here after beating PSG 3-1 on aggregate, or 3-2 on aggregate. In this first leg, Real Madrid would beat Chelsea in London 3-1. The very first goal of this matchup was scored by Real. The first two goals of this matchup were scored by Real Madrid's elite French striker Karim Benzema in the 21st and 24th minutes. Chelsea's lone goal of the game would come from their elite German attacker Kai Havertz, as he would go on to score in the 40th minute to make it 2-1. In the second half, Real Madrid would open it up with a hat-trick goal from Karim Benzema, as he was able to get the best of Chelsea's goalie Mendy. And with this win, Real Madrid will carry this 3-1 aggregate lead into the second leg, where they will be facing Chelsea at home next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Taking a look at what is going on with the second matchup in this stage. Bayern Munich, the defending Bundesliga champs, would go to Villarreal to face off the reigning Europa League champs. Villarreal would end up, looking at how they made it here, Villarreal would make it through the round of 16 after beating Juventus 4-1 on aggregates after winning that second leg 3-0. Bayern Munich was able to make it through the round of 16 after beating Salzburg 8-2, after beating Salzburg 7-1 in the second leg of that matchup. In this first leg between Bayern and Villarreal would end up scoring the lone goal of this first leg from Arnaud Danjuma in the 8th minute. So the second leg of this matchup will be played next Tuesday at 3 o'clock at the same time as Real Madrid and Chelsea, as Bayern is, of course, trailing, but Bayern will be the host team for that. But that's where we are currently sitting, as even at this moment, as we are halfway through this stage, Man City is leading Atletico 1-0. Liverpool's leading Benfica 3-1, as well as Villarreal is leading Bayern 1-0, and Real Madrid is leading Chelsea 3-1 at the moment. But that is what Champions League continental soccer is looking like at this moment. But taking a look at what is going on today, because today is Thursday, sticking within the quarterfinal rounds, but of course moving into a different level competition in this tournament. In Europa League, RB Leipzig is going to host Atalanta at 12:45. Taking a look at how this team would go on to, looking at how these teams would go on to make it to this round. RB Leipzig advanced past Spartak Moscow after their round of 16 got canceled for obvious reasons. Atalanta made it to this round after they would go on to beat Leverkusen 4-2 on aggregates. And on the next three first leg matchups are going to be taking place at 3. I'm looking at Braga. Braga is going to be hosting Rangers from Scotland. Of course, taking a look at Braga, Braga coming from Portugal, by the way. Looking at how these teams would make it here, Braga would end up beating Monaco 3-1 in the second, or in aggregates in the last round. Rangers would go on to beat Cervena Zaveda 4-2 in their round of 16 matchup. Also at 3 o'clock, Eintracht Frankfurt from Germany is going to host Barcelona from Spain. Frankfurt would make it to the quarterfinal round after they beat Real Betis from Spain by 3-2 in aggregates. Barcelona would make it to the quarterfinal round after beating Galatasaray 2-1 on aggregates solely off of the second leg matchup. And then last but not least, West Ham is going to be hosting Lyonnais at the same time at 3 o'clock. West Ham won their round of 16 matchup, beating Sevilla 2-0. Lyonnais would end up drawing they would beat Porto 2-1 on aggregates in order to advance to this round. But that is everything I have for you. Is even outside of that, there's Europa Conference League with UEFA. But the big games that are going to be taking place are UEFA as we navigate through through this day of sports one day at a time. I, of course, want to apologize for all the names that I butchered over this time as well, but I do want to thank the ESPN, the NBA, the MLB, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed for this episode. I do really hope all is well, and once everything is done, I will come back with another episode tomorrow on Friday, April 8th, 2022. With that said, I want to thank everyone once again. I do hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode after this, as I do have an individual profile. With that said, thank you once again. I do hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.